this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
With no fees or minimums on checking accounts, it's no wonder that Capital One Bank Guy is so passionate about banking with Capital One. If he were here, he wouldn't just tell you about no fees or minimums. He'd also tell you about how Capital One cafes are open 7 days a week to assist with your banking needs. Yep, even on weekends. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bankguy. Capital One N.A., member FDIC.
All cat parents understand the feeling of being totally ignored by your cat and often thinking, does my cat even love me? There's only one solution to solve that, Sheba. Feed your cat Sheba and go from feeling ignored to truly adored in 12 days guaranteed or your money back. Sheba has a menu of products, appetizers, entrees, treats, and even a kittens menu. So Sheba has a product for even the pickiest eater, like Sheba Puree made with bone broth, a smooth and creamy texture that cats love, or Sheba Grilled, protein-rich formula made with real chicken and seafood. To learn more, check out Sheba.com.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know from HowStuffWorks.com.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark, and there's Charles W. Chuck Bryant, and there's Jerry, and it's snowing outside, which means it's Stuff You Should Know. Snow edition.
Snow edition.
Yeah.
I know, and we're like, we gotta record and get out of here, because this is Atlanta, and snow kills us.
I just mainly don't want to be locked away from the snow. I want to be able to look out the window and see it. I can now, but not as well as I'd like to.
For me, it's just a traffic thing. Like, people are probably leaving work right now.
People have already left the office here.
Well, maybe everyone will be gone by the time I get out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll just be the lone guy trudging through the snow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like Viggo Mortensen in The Road.
Yes.
Although he was not alone.
And there wasn't any snow.
No. It was just nuclear ash.
Although there was snow because Charlize Theron kills herself by going out into the snow. But that's before everything really takes a downward turn.
Spoiler alert. Retroactive spoiler alert.
Chuck.
Yep.
Are you familiar with Kent State?
Yeah, man. I've been singing that Neil Young song all day. How can you not?
You cannot by having never heard it like me.
Shut up. You know that song.
Never heard it. I never listened to Neil Young.
You've never heard the song Ohio?
No, I know the Pretender song, but I don't think that's about Kent State.
I'm shocked.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to listen to Neil Young without, knowing.
How's it go? Hum it for me.
No, I'm not going
to. Maybe I have heard it.
10 soldiers and Nixon.
Okay, yeah, I've heard it. I didn't know that was about Ohio.
4 dead in Ohio?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had no idea.
All right.
I didn't know what that song was about. I was just like, oh, Neil Young.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Get ready to hear it.
I'm sure.
All right.
I'm used to it by now.
You're bulletproof.
Well, so you're familiar with the Kent State shootings.
Sure.
May 4th, 1970. 4 students were killed. I believe another 11 were injured.
Yeah, including one was paralyzed, some pretty severe injuries.
And this is a big deal. That would be a big deal in and of itself if it was just some sort of campus shooting or something like that. It'd be a very big deal these days. But what made the Kent State shootings, for those of you who aren't familiar with them, such an enormous deal was that the shootings were carried out by National Guardsmen.
Yeah.
They were Americans firing on Americans. Americans on one side of the equation firing on protesters on the other side. And it was one of the darkest points in American history, modern or otherwise.
Yeah, it was, I think what's so upsetting is it was random. It wasn't, that guy's coming at me with a bottle or a brick. Shoot him. It was random shooting into a crowd.
Right.
That's the kind of thing that would happen in countries under dictatorships. Mm-hmm. Not here in America.
But it did happen here in America.
Yeah.
And not just at Kent State. There was another similar incident just 10 days later that we'll talk about as well that gets overlooked. But yeah, it was a very dark moment in American history, and it came out of the tensions over the Vietnam War initially. But I think it was more than that. It was also, we should say, that's the kind of obvious thing that led to it.
Yeah.
But also there was a real tension also between the establishment and the anti-establishment.
Yeah.
And the people in control and the people who weren't in control, students, elders. There was just a lot of tension between two sides, and the dividing line the obvious dividing line was the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and I think if you're not of that generation, you may not know the full story. You might know that 4 people were shot in a protest, and that's about it.
Right.
Maybe even if you're from that generation, you may not know the full story. But we're about to tell you.
Okay. Well, let's take it back a little further than 1970.
All right. Vietnam, a country which had won its independence from France in the 50s.
Have you ever seen We Were Soldiers?
Yes.
With Mel Gibson? It's almost like a snuff film. It's one of the most graphically violent movies I've ever seen in my life. But it's about that transition from France leaving Vietnam and America coming in.
Yeah.
And initially...
Go ahead.
Well, just initially serving as advisors.
Oh, right.
And then becoming embroiled in the war.
I forgot all about that movie.
Yeah.
You know, in Apocalypse Now, there are some deleted scenes of them meeting up with a French family in Vietnam and, like, having dinner.
Really?
Yeah, and I remember when I heard about that, I was like, what? Why were they French? And then I did a little more homework on it.
Oh, yeah, if you eat Vietnamese food, like, it's very clearly, like, French influenced.
Well, most food is, but yeah.
Sure.
So anyway, in the 50s, they split between Communist North and non-Communist South Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And America didn't want communism spreading throughout Asia.
No, we had a policy of containment.
Yeah, and so Richard Nixon, when he won the 68 election, part of his promise was something called Vietnamization. It's kind of an awkward word. Mm-hmm. And that meant to transfer the combat duties from our soldiers to the South Vietnamese.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It does. But what happened was, at some point, he said, you know what, in 1970, in April, he said, I want to send our soldiers into Cambodia. And that caused sort of a firestorm because it was a bit of a reversal of what he said he was going to do. And it, really embroiled us in the kind of the middle of things.
Well, yeah, he escalated the war in Vietnam, which was already a very contentious issue in that it was a war, but also it was a war that Congress never openly declared war. Yeah. So that's why, historically speaking, it's referred to as the Vietnam conflict.
Right.
And so Nixon gets elected partially because he's saying, I'm going to get our boys out of there.
Yeah.
We're not going to let the communists win. We're going to prop up the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
But, we're going to get out of there. And instead he escalates things by invading Cambodia where the Viet Cong were stationed. And that led to immediate protests. That was April 30th, 1970, that he announced that we had invaded Cambodia.
Yeah.
And the next day is when the first protest takes place at Kent State.
Yeah. And, Kent, the article points out that it was not the most likely place because it was a little more blue collar than, like, say, Ohio State nearby, the Ohio State University. And,
man, I'm sorry.
What?
That is so stupid. Sorry, OSU alums and fans and students, but it is stupid. And everyone outside of Ohio State thinks it's stupid.
They take a lot of pride in that "the."
I know, which I think just kind of fans the flames of, derision.
Yeah. I can just start saying the University of Georgia.
That makes a little more sense.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference?
The Ohio State University.
Oh.
The University of Georgia.
So if it was the University of Ohio State, that would make more sense?
Yeah, a little more. To my ear.
I gotcha.
My ear. Yeah. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
See it?
That's very nice.
Thank you.
At any rate, Kent State was a little more blue collar, and you wouldn't think there would be like protesting, but there was protesting at schools all over the country.
There were, and you can read between the lines here. Kent State had a lower hippie population than Ohio State.
Yeah, can we just come out right out and say it?
Right. But there were protests there. There was a protest on May 1st, and it was a standard war protest.
Yeah, 3 days before the shooting. So it's kind of when things got kicked off.
Right. But these kids were still pretty good. They were at school holding a protest in the Commons, I believe, which is AKA the quad, or like the big grassy area in between, in the middle of campus. And they said, you know what? This went pretty well. Let's take the weekend off and we'll meet back here Monday and have another anti-war protest because we're really steamed about this. And everyone said, okay, let's do that. And for tonight, let's go out and hit the bars in Kent.
Yeah.
Which is what they did.
The first one, they buried the Constitution as a symbolic gesture.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
And the second one, they got drunk.
Right.
Not at the protest, but later that night.
Right, so that Friday protest is when they buried the Constitution.
Yeah.
So this is like a real protest. It's not just walking around. There's like stuff going on and like, there's symbolic acts. It was a real protest.
Yeah, and if you combine alcohol and protesting, things might get a little rowdy. So bonfires broke out. They started throwing bottles at police cars, breaking windows.
It's where they're a little rowdy. I mean, that's a riot. When you set light bonfires in the streets and throw bottles at police cars, that you have just basically said, we've drawn a line in the sand. What are you going to do, cops?
That is one way to look at it for sure. The mayor, Leroy Satram, said, this is an emergency situation, people. I need to call the governor, James Rhodes. We need some help. I'm going to close the bars, which, isn't going to make anyone very happy.
No, and it had an exacerbating effect, apparently, because that meant all the people who weren't rioting in the streets, who were busy drinking in the bars, were now suddenly in the streets, too, and joined the protests, a.k.a. the riots, right?
That's right. And the police were called in. They used tear gas and said, go back to your dorm rooms, basically, get back on campus. And that was Friday. Now we move on to Saturday.
Yeah, and the mayor's obviously a little jumpy. He's hearing rumors circulating that there's going to be another, the scene from the night before is going to happen all over again on Saturday. So he calls the governor of Ohio. And here enters the person who, in my opinion, is single-handedly responsible for what happened at Kent State.
So the National Guard arrives. There were about 1,000 protesters that actually burned down an ROTC building on campus, which is a pretty bold move. And they didn't find out who did that exactly, but they did cut fire hoses so they couldn't put out the fire.
Yeah.
And basically burned it to the ground.
Yeah, the protesters set it on fire and then cut the fire hoses. Like, they wanted that building burned. And apparently, that's when the National Guard shows up an hour or so later, right?
Yeah, and they broke everything up, obviously. And then, come Sunday, you've got about 1,000 National Guardsmen, and you've got Governor Rhodes arriving, and holding a press conference and kind of flaming the fire again by calling, the protesters the worst type of people that we harbor in America.
Yeah, he compared them to the brown shirts, Mussolini's brown shirts.
Yeah.
The communists, pretty much anybody he could think of that would be disparaging. That's who he publicly at this press conference compared him to. And you mentioned that on Sunday morning, the National Guard was on campus, kind of keeping order and everything. But apparently, the relations between the guardsmen and the students were pretty amicable. People were chatting friendly. There was no tension. It was just kind of hey, I'm 19. Hey, I'm 19. I'm a student at Kent State. I'm in the National Guard. Let's hang out. And it wasn't until the governor showed up and held this press conference that things took a very sudden turn for the worse. And it wasn't just the brown shirts, calling them the brown shirts are the worst element that America harbors, but also saying, I may also declare martial law.
Yeah, and that I may message never quite got through, and there was some confusion as to whether or not that actually happened. And basically the National Guard believed that had happened, and they took control of the campus and said, we're running the show now.
And not just the National Guard, but the university officials, too. The people running the university said, oh, well, martial law is declared. And they knew that there was a protest scheduled for the following day, Monday, so they printed a bunch of flyers and pamphlets saying, hey, your constitutional rights have been suspended because the university's under martial law, so all assembly is banned, so don't protest. And that kind of fell on deaf ears, I guess you could say, come Monday morning, because the students showed up to protest.
Yeah, that definitely didn't work. By noon, there was about 3,000 people, about 500 actively protesting, another 1,000 just there to be supportive.
Right.
And because it's a college campus, about 1,500 people just checking it out.
Yeah, stopping on their way to class or whatever, yeah.
What's going on? I would have done the same thing probably.
And we should say also our buddy, Stuff They Don't Want You to Know, host and sometimes producer Matt Frederick, his parents were students at Kent State, and they stayed home that day.
They did.
They were like, there's some bad stuff that's going to go down, and they were right.
So the article points out it was less an anti-war protest at this point and more of a protest of the draconian occupation of their campus.
Yeah, martial law.
By the army.
Yeah.
And,
which is not even real, which is just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, pretty much. So the General, Canterbury says, you know what? This rally's over. Drive me around in a Jeep. Give me that bullhorn. Let me tell everyone to go home, because that'll work.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to this, where these tensions came from in the first place. It's establishment versus anti-establishment.
Yeah.
And establishment is the type to stand in a Jeep and be driven around with the bullhorn telling people to disperse.
I don't know if there's ever been a message relayed via bullhorn that doesn't fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
You know?
It has the opposite effect.
Unless, like, I guess in like a FEMA situations, if you're trying to like organize people and stuff, that helps. But I always think of bullhorns as stuff like this. The general riding around in the Jeep yelling at people to go home, and people saying, no, you don't understand why we're here in the first place.
Right.
So they started throwing rocks at the Jeep, not surprisingly. And,
Not surprised.
well, tensions at this point, this was day 4.
Yeah, I think though,
I'm not justifying it, I'm just
No,
saying,
no, I know you're not at all, but I think it's really easy to kind of choose one side or the other, especially once you know the outcome. But I don't think it should be overlooked that, like, people are throwing rocks at this dude while he's driving around in the Jeep. People have burned down a building.
Yeah, sure.
People have rioted in the streets of the town, the college town. I mean, like, these are real huge events that scared the pants off of the people who were running the town, the state, the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, to say that they were unprovoked is historically inaccurate.
Yeah. I totally agree. Not justifying, but I think a lot of people might think the story is people got together to protest and the army came in and shot them.
Right. Or, yeah, and that it was either the protesters' fault. They shouldn't have been protesting.
Right.
They shouldn't have burned down that building. Or, it was entirely the National Guard's fault. And whatever historical event you're looking at, it's never just one side or the other.
No, it's usually gray.
It's always gray. And you have blinders on if you think otherwise.
You should write a history book called It's Always Gray.
Yeah.
Josh Clark's History of America. I'd buy that.
Thanks, man.
All right, so where are we? They were throwing rocks at the general. He, at this point, ordered his troops to load their weapons, get the tear gas going.
He said, they threw rocks at me. You guys load your weapons.
That's basically what happened. Not because his feelings were hurt.
Right.
Yeah. Although I imagine they were.
I guess. No matter who you are, I'm sure people throw rocks at you. You're like, I take that personally.
So the National Guard came in. They pushed them back past the Commons over a steep, called Blanket Hill, and into a parking lot of Prentice Hall and a practice football field. Then basically the guardsmen found themselves cornered by a fence, retreated back up the hill. When they got to the top, 28 out of the 70 turned and began firing their guns into the crowd.
Yeah, so...
well, not all of them into the crowd, we should point out. Most into the air or the ground, actually, although some fired directly into the crowd. If they all would have fired directly into the crowd, there would have been a much higher blood count or body count.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, the protesters were about a football field away from them. And the fact that they started to walk up the hill and then turn and shot made it not just an attack of Americans on Americans, but a surprise attack of Americans on Americans.
Yeah, I would say the students did not expect bullet retaliation. Took about 13 seconds. 4 students were killed. Allison Krauss, not the Allison Krauss,
no,
obviously. Jeffrey Miller, Sandra Schur, and William Schroeder. And it's all tragic, but even more tragically, Schur and Schroeder were just walking to class.
Yeah, that makes
they weren't even
so
part of
much
the
worse.
protest.
Yeah.
They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And like I said, 9 people were wounded and 1, Dean Collar, was paralyzed.
And, yeah.
Go ahead.
So those shots, they shot into the air and into the ground, but also into the crowd. And over about 13 seconds, they fired between 61 and 67 shots.
I think that could be categorized as a hail of gunfire.
Yeah, 13 seconds, 60 shots. What is that? That's like a lot of shots a second.
Yeah. That's true.
And just from 28 guns.
Yeah, and apparently there was a professor named Glenn Frank who did a lot to quell the crowd and did talk them into not escalating this thing any further.
Right. So this article really kind of glances over this guy's role. And it wasn't just him, but he was the head of the faculty marshals whose job it was to basically keep an eye on the protests. They were like the university's liaison between the university and the students, the protesters. And this guy and his crew basically single-handedly prevented like a massacre, because they saw very quickly that if they didn't insinuate themselves between the guardsmen and the students, the students were going to be like, holy God, they just fired live ammunition on us.
Yeah.
And they're standing right there. Let's get them.
Yeah.
They would have attacked. The consensus is the students would have attacked out of anger, and that the guardsmen most definitely would have fired again when being attacked. And this faculty member and his team saw what was about to happen and slid in and was like, wait. So they spoke to the guardsmen and said, stop firing. We have to go talk to the students. Then they went and spoke to the students for 20 minutes and got them to calm down enough to stop provoking, or to not provoke or advance on the guardsmen in retaliation, and saved a lot of lives, probably.
I wonder if there's a Glenn Frank statue on campus.
There should be.
I agree. So they closed school, not for the day or the weekend, but for the rest of the semester. And a lot of colleges did the same as far as shutting down.
Well, because a lot of students went on strike.
Oh, yeah.
And like the universities were forced to shut down.
In the following weekend, 100,000 people went to D.C. To protest. Neil Young, News to Josh, wrote a song about it.
So Chuck, let's do a message break, shall we?
Sure.
Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more. The springtime thaw is finally here. Flowers are blooming, days are longer. We're saying yes to more plans and finally getting outside, running, walking, just moving again. It's the perfect time to upgrade your everyday go-tos with Bombas. Take Bombas sports socks. They're super comfortable and designed with sport-specific tech for running, cycling, yoga, hiking, you name it. I use them to run in, and I can tell you they work beautifully. So head over to bombas.com and use code SYSK for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com, code SYSK at checkout.
Okay. So the shootings have just happened. The crowd has been quelled. The dead and wounded have been taken away in ambulances, and now we've reached the aftermath.
That's right.
Immediate and otherwise.
Yeah. President Nixon wasn't super compassionate. He had earlier been overheard calling them bums.
Yeah.
This wasn't in his press release, obviously, but it definitely got out in the press. Did not bode well for his reputation. And he said, when dissent turns to violence, it invites tragedy.
That was the official line.
That was the official line.
Which is pretty cold. That's the president. Like,
yeah,
you get what you pay for.
Yeah, pretty much. His vice president, Agnew, said it was predictable. Also, not super compassionate.
No.
Considering these were Americans that were shot and killed.
Right.
2 of which were just walking to class. He called them a bunch of scared kids with guns, the National Guardsmen.
Well, that was Ray Price, the speechwriter for Nixon.
Yeah, which is true. You know?
But so basically the whole
again,
Nixon,
it's gray, you know?
It is.
Like they probably were scared.
For sure. And yeah, I think that's fair. I think also though it's one-sided too. Like he's not saying, and then also the other side were a bunch of scared angry kids with rocks.
Yeah, like the only way, and you can't even remove the gray, but you'd have to find out each person who shot and what their motive was.
Right.
Because some were probably scared out of their mind and reacted. There has been some people later on that said that some got together and decided to do this. Some of the guardsmen.
Right. So when they had been pushing the crowd back onto the practice football field, apparently while they were loitering there have been allegations that a couple of the guardsmen said, hey, when we march back up the hill, we're going to turn and fire.
Right.
It's never been proven, but more than a couple historians have leveled that accusation. There was also immediate word that the guardsmen said that they were acting in self-defense because there was a sniper on one of the rooftops and that they were being fired on. They found out that there were audio recordings of this, and that was quickly changed to, well, it was self-defense because these people were throwing rocks at us.
Yeah. There was a presidential commission, obviously, and they concluded it was, quote, unnecessary, unwarranted, and inexcusable. And then in an FBI investigation found that the guardsmen fabricated their defense and that they were not in true danger.
Right.
That was the FBI.
So a presidential commission and the FBI investigation both said, like, this shouldn't have happened and, like, it's on the guardsmen. But that wasn't the mood of the nation for the most part. There was a Gallup poll that was conducted shortly after, and the majority of Americans said that it was the protesters' fault for protesting.
Yeah. I mean, it went to trial, too. It wasn't just like, oh, well, this happened and it's super sad. And in the federal trial, it was dismissed because of what was called a weak case by the guardsmen. And then the grand jury in Ohio put the blame on the university officials and the protesters and not the guardsmen. And then there was a civil trial in 1979 settled out of court where the victims and families got a collective sum of $675,000. Collective sum meaning, I guess that was for all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all split that.
And no apology was ever issued. They did issue a signed statement expressing regret.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
So this is the signed statement that came out of the civil trial that the Ohio National Guard released to the families of the victims. In retrospect, the tragedy of May 4th, 1970 should not have occurred. The students may have believed that they were right in continuing their mass protest in response to the Cambodian invasion, even though this protest followed the posting and reading by the university of an order to ban rallies and an order to disperse. These orders have since been determined by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals to have been lawful. Some of the guardsmen on Blanket Hill, fearful and anxious from prior events, may have believed in their own minds that their lives were in danger. Hindsight suggests that another method would have resolved the confrontation. Better ways must be found to deal with such a confrontation. We devoutly wish that a means had been found to avoid the May 4th events, culminating in the guard shootings and the irreversible deaths and injuries. We deeply regret those events and are profoundly saddened by the deaths of 4 students and the wounding of 9 others which resulted. We hope that the agreement to end the litigation will help to assuage the tragic memories regarding that sad day.
Not an apology.
No.
Sort of like
We regret.
Hindsight being 20/20, we might have done something differently.
Right. Saying we regret instead of I'm sorry that's a big flashing light.
Yeah, it's a big diff. And for many years, the university itself wasn't quite sure how to handle moving forward in memoriam and otherwise. In the 70s, the officials at Kent State failed. They tried to, but they tried to commemorate it just once every 5 years instead of every year.
And everybody who held the vigils like, well, then you have nothing to do with this. And they kept showing up every year.
Right. I'm like, what are you going to do? Call in the National Guard and remove us?
Yeah.
And they went, no.
Right.
In 1979, there were hundreds of arrests because the university tried to bulldoze the place where it happened to build a gym. That didn't happen. And it took all the way up until 1998 to keep cars from driving over the spots in the parking lot where the students were killed.
Right. And finally, in the mid-2000s, the university has finally reverses position and just kind of goes with the flow. And in 2013, they opened a visitor center that is all about commemorating this event as a historical event, but also I get the impression from the the descriptions of the visitor center a kind of the spiritual aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of tragedy. You know?
Was that just last year?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Now the university, they say, is the nation's leader in courses of nonviolence and democracy, and peace studies and conflict resolution classes were all established. So they, are trying to lead the way forward in at least being a symbol of, peaceful protest.
Right. And people are still trying to figure out what happened. There's still lots of debate. Oliver Stone, unsurprisingly, favors a theory that the government placed a sniper in these protests, and that there were government plant agitators who pushed the protests over the line. And this idea is supported by the fact that there were policies by governors and the president to crack down on dissent, on student anti-war protests. So there definitely was a policy that was like, if you want to get dirty, we'll send our goons to beat you up.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think that the presence of a sniper is totally unsupported. But then a cassette emerged fairly recently that's an actual audio recording of that day that says supposedly you can hear the phrases "get set, point, and fire," which means that this wasn't a surprise knee-jerk shooting, that there was an officer commanding the guardsmen to shoot.
Yeah, and it also, with modern analysis, they think that there may have been shots fired before a full, I think 70 seconds before the guardsmen fired. There's a Kent State student named Terry Norman, who is a photographer on campus, taking pictures, and he also had a handgun, a loaded handgun, and he denied that he discharged it, but he has been accused of triggering this by firing shots, and I think they found audio evidence that there were shots fired, and they think it may have been Terry Norman.
Wow.
That kicked it all off.
Man, can you imagine carrying that around?
No, I could not.
And then Chuck, this is, a lot of people say that Kent State was the beginning of the slide toward Watergate for Nixon. This is like the beginning of the end for him.
Yeah.
And then we should also talk about what happened at Jackson State, because race relations in this country are so messed up.
Yeah.
That everybody talks about Kent State, where 4 white students died, and no one talks about Jackson State, which happened 10 days later, and 2 black people died, black students.
Yeah, and could have been a lot worse. Like, they basically riddled a dormitory with a hail of gunfire.
Yeah. So 10 days after Kent State, at Jackson State University, in Mississippi.
Yeah.
They were also carrying out anti-war protests, but there were also, protests based on racism as well. And when these students were doing a lot of the similar stuff, a lot of the same stuff that was happening or had happened at Kent State, they were, rioting. They had burned a building on campus down. And, when firefighters came out to put out the flames, they started to get worried that these protesters were going to harm them, so they called the cops. Well, the cops came out, tried to disperse the crowd. The crowd didn't disperse, so they opened fire. And like you said, they riddled the building that served as the backdrop to this protest with bullets. Something like 460 rounds hit the building alone. There's no telling how many went on the sides or anything like that, but 460 rounds.
Yeah, they said every window was broken on every floor with bullet fire.
Right. On a crowd of students. And amazingly, only 2 people died.
Yeah, Philip Gibbs, he was a pre-law major and a father of an 18-month-old son, and James Green, he was 17 years old, and he was a high school student walking home from his job at the grocery store.
Right, which, again, the fact that he's not involved in any way and still died makes it so much worse.
Yeah, and this one also, I don't think we pointed out, started out because of misinformation. There was a rumor that the Mayor Charles Evers, and his wife had been shot and killed, assassinated basically.
Oh, yeah.
It was not true.
A relative of Medgar Evers, right?
Yeah, he was his brother. And so that's kind of what sparked everything, in addition to like the anti-war protests.
Right.
And, it was very much about black and white.
Well, yeah, I mean, like they're, yeah. So this is a historically black college. The cops had just opened fire on a bunch of students. 12 people were injured by gunfire.
Yeah.
2 were killed. And the ambulances weren't called until the police picked up all of their shell casings and left. And then the National Guard came in.
Yeah, and then after that, the police denied they even took part. I'm not sure how that panned out. How can you deny that you shot up a building?
So it was Mississippi in 1970.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
At a historically black college.
And you probably never heard of Jackson State for that very
to be honest,
reason.
Until we started researching this, I hadn't heard of it either.
Yeah.
And there was only one source we used that made reference to it. That's how I heard about it. So that's great. Just fantastic.
That's what happened at Kent State and Jackson State.
In Jackson State.
Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more.
Mom, can I have Lingo Kids?
Dad, Lingo Kids, please!
When did we become the Lingo Kids house?
No idea. Last week it was dinosaurs. This week it's...
Lingo Kids!
Why Lingo Kids?
Because it's the best thing ever.
We can play games
with astronauts,
wild animals,
and superheroes.
With more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows, Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids.
So, no dinosaurs?
And dinosaurs. Lingo Kids!
Everything kids love. Download it for free.
You got anything else?
I got nothing else.
There's got to be a better ending to this than this. I mean, these things happen, but there has to have been some lesson learned.
I think so. It hasn't happened since.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder.
Or at least on a campus.
Yeah.
We should do one on the Battle for Seattle.
Did they didn't fire live rounds at that though, did they? I'm pretty sure they didn't. But we should do one on that as well.
Yeah, my friend John was there.
Agitating? Was he a black shirt?
No, he had these funny protest signs that reference The Simpsons. I can't remember all.
Or black bloc, that's what it is.
He got the pictures.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to interview him then.
I don't know that it would yield much information.
Oh, fine.
I think he was just goofing around.
I gotcha. All right. Well, if you want to learn more about Kent State, you can type in that name into the search bar at howstuffworks.com. And we also encourage you to go look up Jackson State as well. And let's see. Since I said search bar, it's time for listener mail, right?
Yes, sir. I'm going to call this Prison Guard wrote in. Hey, guys. For the most part, I found the episode on capital punishment pretty even-handed and interesting. However, I couldn't help but notice a bit of venom in your voices whenever you mentioned prison guards, especially an instance of an inmate taking his own life with a razor blade while he was being observed on death watch. The implication was that the guard on duty negligently gave the inmate a razor in order to encourage him to take his own life. I don't think we implied that, did we?
No, it wasn't implied. It was more just like, what? Kind of thing. Like, why did that happen?
Right. As a former prison guard that worked on death row, I have to tell you that couldn't be further from the truth. It's a civil right for inmates to have access to razor blades for hygienic purposes. I was required to allow an inmate on death row to keep the disposable razor for 30 minutes, despite the fact that he had nearly killed another inmate and murdered a prison official with a razor blade while serving his sentence. I'd imagine an inmate, even on death watch, would have similar rights, but I can't confirm through experience. Guards that worked on death row weren't allowed to serve on death watch. This is because it was feared that we'd form an emotional bond to the inmate set for execution and might cause a scene. So yes, prison guards have feelings and can have empathy for others. Pop culture nearly always portrays guards as heavies and villains, And even smart portrayals of prison life, like Orange is the New Black, has every prison official character as a comic book mustache-twirling villain or a mouth-breathing idiot. It's a hard job and should be respected as much as other high-risk civil servant careers. A little disappointed you guys continued this trend, but I'm used to it, so don't sweat it. So that is from Craig, and he let us off easy, even though he feels like we insulted his job.
Well, thanks, Craig. I think he did exactly what we were kind of searching for right then. We were just disgustedly confused.
Yeah.
Or disgustedly ignorant, one of the two.
Yeah, I will say that he is probably right on the money as far as movie portrayals. It's pretty one note if you're a prison guard in a movie.
Yeah.
In general, unless it's The Green Mile, and that movie has problems of its own.
Or Oz.
I never watched Oz.
What?
Yeah.
That was the first... Oz is the show that kicked off all of the shows you love and binge watch now.
I know.
The idea of binge watching a show began with a show like Oz because there was nothing like it ever created before. It all started with Oz. The Wire, The Shield, House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, everything, every Breaking Bad, all of them can thank Oz. You can thank Oz. You should go watch Oz, man.
Thank you, Oz.
It's good.
Great.
Man, this one was something. I feel drained a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Emotionally exhausted?
I'm still not happy with the ending. I feel like we could have ended it a lot better, but I'll have to think on it.
All right.
If you want to get in touch with me and Chuck, you can tweet to us at SYSK Podcast. You can hang out on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Stuff You Should Know. You can send us an email to stuffpodcast@discovery.com, and you can check us out at our website, stuffyoushouldknow.com.
For more on this and thousands of other topics, visit howstuffworks.com.
This episode of Stuff You Should Know is brought to you by lynda.com. Lynda.com offers thousands of engaging, easy-to-follow video tutorials taught by industry experts to help you learn software, creative, and business skills. Membership starts at $25 a month and provides unlimited 24/7 access. Try lynda.com free for 7 days by visiting lynda.com/SYSK.
Whether you're calling the wise women in your life, video calling your girlfriends across the country, or checking in on someone who always knows how to make you smile, staying connected matters. Those small conversations, shared laughs, and quick hellos are what keep relationships strong even when life gets busy. Some of the most life-giving conversations start with just a phone call. That's why AT&T guarantees a network you can rely on so you can focus on the moments and people that matter most. That's the AT&T guarantee. AT&T, connecting changes everything. Terms and conditions apply. Just visit att.com/guarantee for details.
Introducing the all-new Mazda CX-5, featuring more connection.
Hey Google, where's the nearest Pilates class?
Safety that has your back. More discovery on the scenic routes. More passion in the details. And more control in changing weather. The all-new Mazda CX-5. More to move every side of you. See it in 5 films at MazdaUSA.com/5sides.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC. Sequences shortened and simulated.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.